Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to work on improvising over a 2-5-1 progression. So let's jump right in. So first, let's talk about what a 2-5-1 chord progression is. A 2-5-1 chord progression comes from the chords from our second, fifth, and first notes of our major scale. Let's use the C major scale as an example. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. If we take the second note of that scale, 1, 2, so that's going to be D, we can build what's called a minor 7 chord, which sounds like this. How I built that chord was I took our second note, D, and I went up every other note of our major scale. So D, skip E, go to F, skip G, go to A, and skip B, go to C. These 4 notes give us our D minor 7 chord, and these 4 notes have a very special name called an arpeggio. An arpeggio is when you play a chord one note at a time. Next, we'll go to our 5th note of our major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to take us to G. From our 5th note, we can build what's called a dominant 7 chord, which sounds like this. You can see how our dominant 7 chord sounds a lot different than the minor 7 chord we had earlier. Minor 7's a little bit dark and sad. Our dominant 7 chord is a little bit brighter and has some tension to it. And how I built this chord is the same way I built the last one. I started from our note G, and I went up every other note of the scale. So I skip A and go to B, skip C and go to D, and skip E, go to F. Now all that's left is our 1 chord. So we take our first note of our scale, which is going to be C, and from our first note, we can build a major 7 chord, which sounds like this. How I built that, same thing again. I take our first note C, and I go every other note. So skip D, go to E, skip F, go to G, and skip A, go to B. A lot of times in a 2-5-1, you'll see 1 measure of the 2 chord, 1 measure of the 5 chord, and 2 measures of the 1 chord. Let's try playing these arpeggios in a 2-5-1 progression. Now let's do the same thing going down our arpeggios, so we'll play them backwards. Let's try this along with the track. If you want to practice any of those exercises anymore, you can always go back in the video and play this along with me some more. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can even click the gear in the bottom right of the video, and you can slow down or even speed up the video to play this at different tempos. If I take our D minor 7 arpeggio and our G7, you might notice that both have the notes D and F. So when playing over the 2 and the 5 chord, or the D minor and the G7, I can stay on one of these two notes. And then look at how close our D and our F are to the C and E in the C major chord. Let's try taking this simple rhythm and using these handful of notes to improvise over the 2-5-1. So on our 2 and our 5 chord, I'm going to stay on either D or F, and on our C major, I'm going to stay on either C or E. Now let's try adding some of the other notes from our arpeggios, and we're going to switch notes every measure. Now let's try playing 2 notes every measure. Now let's do a different note every time. So now that you have a good idea on how to use these arpeggios to start improvising over a 2-5-1, you can use the worksheet that comes with this video to practice these arpeggios in other keys. So keep practicing those arpeggios, and I'll see you in the next video.